I think it is. Because of the
I wonder if we ought to put it over right there so the audience can see too.
Maybe that corner, Scott.
Yeah, I wonder if we do that.
Probably that one might be best.
Yeah, go ahead and take the board off. Let's just try it over here.
I didn't realize she was
Right
getting
here.
married.
That's
Well, I
space
mean,
right
I
there.
ran into her, just walking down the street, and she had picked
I
up
was
something.
wanting to find a place to hide.
Yeah, so I was getting a patio and I pulled up here for when they pulled the permit.
I'm good with it.
I wanted to remind her
Looked
that
at
the
it
yard was
several
not
times.
Can you see that? There's that-
It's a little too straight.
Okay, we'll turn a little bit. Tell us when.
That's good.
Okay.
Denise,
Yes.
Cheryl's probably gonna zoom in. She's got back issues.
Okay.
I think she's, her right there.
Yeah, she's on there.
Come on, guys.
I'm sure her job is really busy right now.
Cheryl, can you hear us?
This is also on the town website.
Yes.
It is.
Can you hear me?
Do we not have,
Like old fashioned way.
Scott, I thought you had standards about who you allowed in here.
UDO.
I thought you had standards about who you allowed in here.
I somehow have my printed UDO.
Oh my lord.
I did not bother to print.
I like.
Well, I do too. I printed a few pages and then I didn't bring them with me. 'Cause
It's just easy to reference.
I, just some of them, yeah, they were right, so
Mhm.
I'll print it out to you.
She's in the car, so it might be the Bluetooth or something.
I can hear you, but you can't hear me.
Driving in the
Huh?
It's illegal, isn't it?
I don't know in Indiana, maybe.
As long as it's hands free.
You know what, Anna, can you turn your, are you gonna need that laptop?
I am.
Okay, during the presentation, we probably.
I can, yeah, I can turn it, yeah, that way,
Okay,
kind of hold it,
okay.
but I just need to press slides for
Right.
for
Oh,
Kelly.
yeah, that's right, okay.
Yeah. This is on the town website, so people are virtual, they can look at it that way.
What did you do, Kyle?
Oh, I fell in a hole like 3 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh.
Wearing this cool boot ever since.
Are you getting any sympathy?
My wife has to drive me around. Not done with it.
That gets old.
Oh, yeah.
Cheryl, can you hear us? I don't think
Stretch
so.
toward leaving.
Frame, they did a MRI.
Yes. Yes.
Friday.
Jeff is-
It doesn't hurt.
Can you hear me?
Right, not broken.
You guys live sick.
I can hear you, Cheryl.
Just a
Okay.
thought.
Great.
Might not have a great signal for a Zoom meeting.
We sit in a corner, but she can't hear us.
I can, yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Denise, the mayor from Connie.
Not sure if you could hear us. It looks like Jeff was on, but
Yes, I can hear you.
I think Debbie was on too.
Try to do enjoyment, it's gonna get.
Well, there's a lot of feedback. Yeah. Oh, that's creepy.
Hey, Jeff Graham says he can hear us.
Oh.
Can he speak to see if we can hear him?
Hello, anybody hear me?
Which microphone is picking it up? Which mic are you using?
Well, I mean, all but this one should work, but it's not. Happened one other time.
Yeah. It is recording. Right. Didn't call Scott Needham and he did some.
He said, go to this one.
This one. Mm-hmm. What's the med combo? Right.
I had it on loudest.
There's always people trying to get here. And they do help.
Should we try turning?
I have to listen to them.
I'm gonna turn the feedback back on.
With earphones.
Yeah.
It's the only way I can hear them.
I think some people don't get close enough to their microphone.
And now we're going to be muffled, so we're going to
Yeah,
have to make
that's even
Make
worse.
sure that we project.
Ever since that.
Had water. It seems like I don't know. Good.
Yeah, because we should be able to hear Cheryl and Jeff because they're not muted.
I can hear you.
I can hear Cheryl and I just fine. I just
Great.
can't hear them. Yeah. Can hear, they just can't hear us, Cheryl.
He was married.
doesn't follow it up. Why?
Married Saturday.
So why did she hear?
I offered her to go up to my cabin for the honeymoon. I don't know if they went anywhere. They didn't have anywhere picked out. Going to Muncie.
It's like we are making poor choices. And I said, I'm kind of tired. Thought about it, he's like,
Time is.
he's like,
And then the lady that this is
So they can hear us, but we can hear them.
yeah,
And so we had this issue once before, and it was like the right combination of buttons, and then it worked.
So you have to kind of back out.
Connie's the only missing.
I don't know what she did, she's efficient
We just can't.
with the
She just can't
stuff, so, yes, yes. And then we have Scott Needham, who is our IT guy,
They're having trouble receiving audio.
and he got it to work last time, so.
So are you on the tree committee?
yeah.
It would have been amazing to have the little placards or to buy them that has like the bicentennial or.
And I mean, when this is done, leave us at whatever you want to do.
The trees that all of us got in our yard.
Kind of mask
So
was so
you know there's
strange.
something special.
We do, we have some street standards, so it's the, like engineering standards for new roads. That's something Travis is, I don't do it. I don't know what it's saying, but, yeah, so that's kind of what that is, and then
You know, just
have
kind
stuff.
of the ones that we.
And then
found.
the,
And it could
that's
be
just
just,
like,
you know,
Did his
just.
thing.
yeah, fine, but we're not voting on anything tonight,
I
it's
know that.
just talk about it.
Was the deal.
I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, it's working.
Just, you know, as people.
Yeah. As time goes on.
You need to write the
Jesus.
So I'd hate, a lot of people are quick to chop little trees now.
Oh, yeah.
They're easy to chop down.
This is easier to mow.
Yes. Yes, it is.
All right, everything.
Turn it down.
Leslie's story. All
About
mine was
Jeff?
taken out before Ash.
Not Jeff.
Jeff is via Zoom.
Is he there?
I'm here. You guys hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, sorry.
All right, we good. Denise, you ready? Anna?
Good to go.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Welcome, everybody, Town of Pendleton September Planning Commission meeting. Appreciate your patience for a little technical difficulties there. We've got it corrected. If I could have a roll call, please, starting to my left.
Brad Valentine?
Kyle Lockhart.
Tim Pritchard
Carol Hannah.
Jenny Sisson.
and Cheryl is via Zoom.
Cheryl Amy Hunt.
Good. Okay, the only one missing is Connie. She's not on, is she?
No.
Okay. Okay, we do have a quorum. We don't have our pads. Did everyone have a chance to look at the minutes via home? Okay, Cheryl, still here? Okay. If everybody's in favor of the minutes, I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes. There was actually 2 minutes there for the regular meeting and the special meeting. We opened.
I'll make a motion that we approve both minute meetings, both August meetings.
Thank you, Carol. Do I have a
Meeting
second?
minutes.
I second it.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second.
I second it.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Okay, first item tonight on old business is the I-69 interchange master plan.
Okay, so Ken Romenschneider from Kimley Horn is going to do a presentation to walk you through the interchange master plan. Do I do share screen, Denise, to get on that? Okay. Oh, do they have iPads?
We're
We
okay.
don't.
Oh, you're okay? Okay.
We're good. We're going.
Okay, so just tell me when.
Go ahead, Ken.
Thank you, Anna, members of the Plan Commission. Thank you for the privilege of being here tonight. And I'm just gonna ask this question, because rules are different everywhere. When I'm here presenting, is it okay to be faceless, or you want me to keep this on?
You gotta take it off.
You can drop it, yeah. We're fine with it.
Right.
Thank you.
It just makes it, I think makes it easier for people to
hear.
understand.
Yes.
So my name is Ken Romenschneider. I'm with Kimley Horn. We are urban planners, landscape architects, and engineers with offices in Indianapolis. And I'm joined with me tonight, colleague Brandon Schrag. And we have enjoyed working on Pendleton. We had the privilege of doing your downtown revitalization plan in 2015. We also did your community-wide bicycle and pedestrian master plan. Have come to really appreciate the special place that Pendleton is, and I'm a big proponent for historic preservation, and you all find job with that here in your community. So we'll go ahead and go to the next slide, and just going to hit on some of the key points what's behind this effort and why it's being done. So one of the reasons is to provide your community with a market-based vision for how this area will evolve. And the area we're talking about is obviously around the interchange. The yellow boundary is the perimeter of the area that we studied, and we have looked at this from 4 different quadrants, since State Street and the interstate provides separation between those quadrants. We also are doing this plan to provide clarity on future land uses that will be met with support in the future. And the importance of that is that, number one, it establishes uses that your community has identified would like to see, but these uses are also based on market-based research. And so within the report, and you will, I know, have an electronic version of this, in the back of the report is the market analysis, and I encourage you to take a look at that. We believe in making certain we're doing recommendations that have market traction, so that what you are pursuing makes sense and will be viable. We also, as part of this effort, are looking at regional stormwater management. So essentially what that means is the difference between developing a singular parcel and then doing your stormwater management within it, and doing the next one, and doing your management. If you do regional stormwater management that can serve a larger area, you actually get more development value and more development square footage with that approach. And it also, in this particular case, provides for some real opportunities that I'll talk about here in a minute, for being able to create parkland and do stormwater management at the same time. And then another aspect of this project is because you are in the path of development coming out of Indianapolis, and because your community is a place that is attractive to people for living, working, and playing in Pendleton, we are recommending that you withhold a significant portion of the land for a premier development further down the road. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But, and it's a strategy to be able to maximize the TIF revenue that the town can access by being selective on that particular part of the development. So let's go to our next slide. Thank you. So we want to encourage planned and prudent town growth based on market research and planning principles. We want to utilize a deliberate planning process to guide and facilitate desired development in a measured approach that does not compromise historic downtown Pendleton. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We want to encourage development in the study area that will address market-based needs and then increase your local TIF revenues so that you do have revenue streams to do infrastructure to support the development. Next slide, thank you. Just briefly, we did, so we signed a contract and COVID hit, and so we couldn't do public engagement the way we typically do, getting everybody in a big room, boards up, walking around and talking about it. So we did do virtual meetings, and we had stakeholder groups in those meetings. And so we did that with commercial and residential real estate professionals. We did that with interchange business owners and operators who were at this location. And we also did it with residents and Pendleton business owners. So we got a lot of good feedback. We have documented that again. And I encourage you to take a look at that and see what we heard from those people that we engaged. I mentioned the detailed market analysis, and we've gotten very favorable comments from your planning department on the depth at which we studied your area and the information that we are using then to make these recommendations. So this is a slide of our quadrants that I mentioned. And so when you look at the report and you're on the northwest quadrant, you'll see that carved out the specific notes on each of those quadrants. So I'll just briefly step away from the podium for a minute and talk about some of the key features of the plan. Your southeast quadrant is the one that's most developed at this point in time with the Pendleton Business Park. We are suggesting that that be allowed to expand down to Fall Creek Road with a residential development district, and then the Falls Point Health and Wellness District, which is next to your Healthplex. Wanting to encourage medical office buildings and health-related businesses in that area. The white dashed lines are suggested connectivity. So there might be a wide sidewalk associated with the street project, or it might be a separated greenway. And in this particular area, here is the area along Fall Creek Road that has been studied for sustainable stormwater management. So we are proposing that you act upon that study that has already been completed to be able to manage the bulk of the stormwater on this side of the interstate. But then also, because sustainable stormwater management utilizes native plants, it cleans the water and it becomes wildlife habitat, we are proposing that a trail be routed through that as a nature park for the community. And we're also showing the connection into downtown across Fall Creek you have a bridge that's been stockpiled, and there's some MPO money for that project, so that's pretty exciting to see that can happen. In the Northwest District, we have the Advanced Manufacturing and Technology District, and this area is intended to cultivate and encourage and attract technology-oriented businesses and businesses with jobs that have higher paying salaries. We have had a meeting with Vice President of TechPoint, and they are very interested in this being here at the interchange, and are also interested in advising the town of Pendleton on ways in which to be able to cultivate that type of business at this location. And one of the things that some communities are doing that you might want to consider is building a technology hub where some technology training would take place here. One of the things that's been proven around the country is if a business starts in your community, they launch in your community. So if you have a technology hub and you have some space they can lease, somebody has an idea and they're starting to get some traction and they lease some space and then they want to grow and build their own building. 9 times out of 10, they like to stay where they gave birth to their business. So technology hub would be a way to pull that forward. We do have some multifamily here in the residential district on the north side, 132. On the northwest side is where the bulk of the future Keystone Development District is located. We have some of that land along the frontage of the street on the south side. And again, the idea there is that your community is very, very attractive and appealing and has a lot to offer in terms of your parks at Fall Creek, Falls, your quaint and wonderfully emerging historic buildings downtown, and restorations have been done. And so, as this project gets built out, your ability to attract a significant private investment at that location grows. Because as land develops, less and less land becomes available that has this kind of convenient access to Indianapolis and professional sports, but also access by bike and car into your historic downtown. So we're recommending that be withheld from development. One of the reasons we recommend that is that we know the town wants to make some investments in your historic downtown that were recommended in your downtown revitalization plan. And so those investments will help bolster your existing businesses and attract some new businesses to downtown, so we have more offerings downtown. And we think it's important to have that happen first before we start having commercial retail at this location that could compete with downtown. So we want to strengthen downtown, get more rooftops within the community so that the town can support both adequately, right? And then we have Executive Homes Development District up here and down here. And you can see the connection of 146th Street connecting into the 67th Street project, which has been studied. And our understanding is there's some funding for that now, but it hasn't been studied. The last thing I would say is this connection from State Street going north to 132 and then extending up and going across eastwardly on 600 South provides 2 spots to relieve congestion on State Street during their rush hour times. And so we think that's an important connection for the project. I also want to make you sign out. So now we're going to talk about next steps, and my colleague Brandon is going to chat with you about those.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, commission members. My name is Brandon Trigg. I'm with Kimley Horn, and I want to talk with you about these next steps of the plan. So, you know, we work in many different communities, and you know, one of the things that is continually sort of under evaluation is TIF districts and their locations, their boundaries, their allocation areas, you know, everything that goes along with the TIF districts. So, as a kind of a first step, next step of the plan, what we're recommending here is, you know, we need to reevaluate the district, you know, with everything that we're talking about within the plan. So obviously, housing and zoning and then everything that needs to be considered in there. But you know, TIF is really just a nice local tool that you know the town has available to them, and it can be used for a lot of different items. You know, they can be you can bond against that, use that for the infrastructure to build out a portion of the plan. You can use that to, it uses leverage and matching for grant programs, any of that sort of thing. So TIF gives you options, and you know, what our recommendation here is, so let's go ahead and reevaluate the boundaries based on the plan. On the next slide, Ken went through the, you know, the technology hub incubator concept. Won't go into any more detail. He covered a lot of the great items there, but you know, it's really just something to keep your eye on. It can do, you know, wonderful things for your community. The next slide, yeah, so the downtown, so the Catalyst project. So yes, I was privileged to be a part of the downtown planning process back in 2015, and you know, you do have a very special community, very special downtown. And you know, leveraging that to provide some of those additional kind of quality of placemaking, you know, features within your downtown. It's definitely, in my opinion, you know, the next step for your community. What we're showing here, and this is an excerpt from the downtown plan, is that kind of Catalyst project. And what that does is it kind of looks at a couple of different things. It brings connectivity. So at the bottom of the screen, I know it's really small up there, but at the bottom of the screen is State Street, and then the kind of brightly colored red version is the east-west alley just north of State Street, and then that's Pendleton Avenue, kind of dressed up there with street trees and everything leading up to Falls Park. So, you know, we see that, and as part of the plan, having that be a street that could be shut down for festivals. So State Street could remain open. It's just a really nice gateway into Falls Park as well. Always believe that that's a great idea. You know, Falls Park is a wonderful amenity, absolutely wonderful amenity for your community, but it is a bit hidden behind, you know, the buildings of downtown. So how do we bring Falls Park sort of towards State Street to kind of help with that, you know, visibility? So that's another item that gets looked at here. On the next slide, what we're looking at there, and again from the downtown plan, so the cross section at the bottom of the street is really just Pendleton Avenue, count the enhancements that would happen there from State Street to Falls Park. But on the top side is you know, the alley enhancements. So those are really nice projects as well, just to kind of create a little bit of buzz in the downtown. They don't typically cost a lot, considering everything. And you know, they really dress up areas that you know, restaurants could use those. They're nice pedestrian corridors. Obviously, you have to keep in mind all the other facilities that happen within alleys, and you know, the transportation networks themselves, and you know, the utilities and trash and all that stuff. But really a great way to kind of quickly kind of get that momentum rolling within the downtown. So those are just a couple of the next steps that we thought of that can address the downtown. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Ken.
Thank you, Brandon.
And so, just about done. The last two items we want to chat with you about is promoting your interchange master plan. So, it would be good to meet with the development community. We know through our stakeholder meetings, our virtual meetings we had, our engagement, and we had a fair amount of interest from the development world, both on the residential side and the commercial side. And so, getting in touch with the development community is important, to let them know that this is out there. One of the tools this really facilitates, or the way this tool facilitates what you want to accomplish here, is that when somebody would like to do, say, residential development, they can look at this plan and they know that their entitlement process is going to be facilitated if what they propose aligns with the plan, right? It's already been adopted in your comprehensive plan, and that they should be able to move through entitlement in a faster fashion than what is typical. So, talking to the development community is important, but also, you know, the Urban Land Institute, Society of Marketing Professionals, American Institute of Architects, opportunities to get the plan out in front of organizations is also a way to promote the plan and get the word out. And then finally, we recommend that on a project of this scale, that it would be good to have an advisory team to assist your town administration in terms of, and people with technical skills in order to be able to advise Pendleton. For instance, the regional stormwater management. You know, that is something that is going to need some finessing and to pull that off, but also to be able to maximize the potential at the interchange and to create, you know, some of the buffers. So this stormwater management shown here becomes a park for this part of Pendleton with the trails, but it also becomes a buffer between the existing residential homes and the new development. So we're doing that in a couple locations. So, you know, and we talk about tax and financing, that is another aspect of advisement, building infrastructure, public-private partnerships, and you could certainly enter into one of those with the technology center in terms of getting that off the ground. And then finally, roadway and trail connectivity. And actually, that's everything we have for now, but I'd like to actually turn it over, and we're happy to take questions, but I think it's important to give Scott the floor for a minute to talk about one of the assignments that the advisory team and the town administration, we believe that they should take on seriously. Go ahead, Scott.
So, when Ken started talking, the first thing he said is, one of the goals is to protect the downtown. So if we have development that happens, too much retail, restaurants, whatever, out at the interchange, you'll have two downtowns. You'll have the downtown out there, and then you'll have the downtown here. So, I don't know if you caught it, but a key component is that we don't want it to happen too early. And that would be based on what we thought, population growth. So one thing that you probably need to decide tonight is, at what point, what milestone do we feel as a town, at this point, we may want to adjust it later, at what population growth do we feel like we can go ahead and have an aggressive retail out there at 69 that won't drain the downtown? So right now, essentially, the town is 4,500 in population, but really, in my world, it's already at 6,000 because of what's happening, what's being built right now at Carrick Glen and Huntsinger Farms in the falls. That's going to add another 1,500, so we're at 6,000. So where should that trigger happen? Should it happen at 12,000? Should it happen at 20,000? It's sort of, I wouldn't say it's scientific. Probably somebody would try and make it scientific, but we know the community, and at what point, and I think it needs to be stated in this document, that at what population growth do you want to trigger that? Now, just so you don't feel like you're under a great amount of pressure, and if you blow it, as the commission we can always adjust it as we go along, but I think it's most important that we state it so that somebody 2, 3, 4 years from now, when they're looking through this document,
this is saying 12,000 beyond our current, so that means we'd be getting up to, Is the way it's-
That's a good catch. I intended it to be 12,000.
12,000
Okay.
total,
Basically
So
double.
take out
But-
the beyond.
yeah.
I just threw that out there as a number, 'cause that's double what
Double what it
their
is now.
population is now.
And
We
again,
can go higher, and then we can, in the future, the planning commission could retreat from that. We could set it low and then, see if it needs to be adjusted up.
What,
Anyway, with that's on the floor. We can put that on the floor for your discussion and probably get a recommended your decision on it.
and it would be something that as we're nearing that, we're gonna have a feel for what's going on anyway, whether we stick with it or increase it as a board or whomever is setting at that time.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
I tend to wanna
If I can interject.
set it.
Sorry, I interrupt.
No, I was just gonna say, I would tend to wanna set it high. It'd be easier to say, hey, we're ready now.
Yes.
Let's lower it then. But I don't know what that
You could have a
number is.
situation where that population growth is happening could really dictate when you would, if you wanted to reduce it or increase it. For instance, let's say there just happens to be a lot of growth right here or just north of town. It just doesn't feel like there's much that's happened yet on the west side of town. Or you could have a scenario where everything's happening on the west side, man, we need to adjust that number
Yeah.
based on what's happening out there.
Yeah, and
Go-
we did talk about a number of different ways to go about this. Do we just give it a total number of rooftops? Because you could track it by building permits. But I think Scott's idea was to track it by population. I think that's valid. It's an easy thing to track. I wouldn't hesitate to make it 15,000 if you felt that made sense. You can always adjust that down the road. But the important thing to note here is the beauty of that is when somebody comes in and they just, they want to do a development in this Keystone Development District and it doesn't quite meet kind of the standards that we're really wanting to have in that district. This is a tool that allows the planning department to say, well, you can't do that because we have 15,000 population and that's the benchmark before that development can happen. And it just shuts down those conversations and saves them time, but it allows them to have that as a tool to allow this development to achieve the potential that it has to generate revenue for the town of Pendleton. And the other aspect of the TIF districts is the town is already connected the TIF district into downtown, so revenue that you get off of this land can be spent in downtown, so you can use TIF revenue out of this area to do the downtown improvement projects. And then when you talk to your legal counsel about expanding the TIF, you can do TIF for commercial development, but you can also do a residential TIF that encompasses the commercial, that allows you to capture TIF off of residential and commercial. So there are some options there that you would want to go over with your legal counsel. But we're pretty excited about the potential that this land has for Pendleton. There are a lot of communities that don't bother to decide what they want or what the market can bear, and they end up with development that isn't as good or as productive as it could be. And this really is a plan into the future for downtown.
We're gonna see a tremendous amount of pressure actually from exit 214, which is an exit to the south there, Ken. They're probably gonna build 50-to-1 homes for us, and it's already happening down there, so I think by raising that number will help us to control that. That exit down there is getting tremendous amount of pressure.
Yeah, and
For
they-
residential and commercial,
They need a plan for what they want to do.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And we got 3 jurisdictions at that location.
We do. I'm serve on the Fall Creek Regional Waste too, and we heard that Myers already bought Pilot Station, so it's gonna just, when that happens, it'll explode out there.
Right.
Brad?
If you look at the I-69 corridor, how many technology incubator type facilities are we competing with?
Well, you have, Launch Fishers, Scott Patton's operation is John Wexler is running. And that's one of our keystone, technology hubs. We also have, and so for instance, Lebanon is doing a technology hub in their community. And what we're finding is that the business and industry in the communities are very much interested in getting the local population into technology training so that they can tap into that talent. And it's one of the biggest challenges we have in Indiana. We have a lot of jobs that are rolling out to the Philippines. We don't have the talent to fill the jobs. And so, your closest one is Fishers. There's another one there's one in downtown Indianapolis at 16 Tech, so 16th Street, not far from Meridian Street. There's another one, and we had photographs of it in our presentation tonight, that is on the southeast side of Indianapolis. The Rook is in the Dalen Development Project called the Hinge. But what we're finding is that the 1150 Academy, that Scott Jones, the fellow who developed voicemail. Scott Jones has the 1150 Academy, which is technology training. And so our discussion with Warren Peterson at TechPoint suggested that we have a conversation with Scott about whether or not he would have an interest in having one of his technology training facilities here in Hamilton. So the tech sector just keeps growing in Indy, and one of the beautiful aspects of it is as it grows, it just strengthens the region for tech, and it draws more technology business to the community.
So are we competing with the incubator site in Anderson? One exit up from State Street?
You know, I'm heavily involved with that, but yeah, I don't think so. I think they more supplement. It's sort of like car dealerships. You know, car dealerships only they like to locate together because they feed off of each other. If you're an isolated one, you're not gonna get the business. So I think it is, we're surrounded by it, and I think we just take advantage of the fact that we're in a succession of 69 of them. Does that make sense? So I don't think we're competing.
And there are a lot of, and I'm not familiar with the Anderson facility, so I have to preface that.
Well, my question is basically, are we going to be able to attract what I would call the anchor tenants into that technology sector if we already have Fishers under development and Anderson has had theirs in place for, what, 5 to 10 years now?
We may find we don't need it.
Well, you got, what happened to the Purdue Polytechnical Center there at the old Delco?
Right.
That's
So
been-
you have both of them, the one there at the old Delco at the railroad crossing, as well as the one at the intersection of 67-9.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's been to Purdue Polytechnical since it was built.
You don't think
I don't think they've been occupied that building.
oh no, it's
Purdue Poly is?
yeah. Oh yeah.
And there's a distinction between co-working space and technology hub. And there's a lot of co-working spaces around.
I think what Ken's saying is
It could always be changed, we can
yeah,
always
he did-
make it
he's
whatever we
saying
want.
That's the next step. We need to explore looking to see what we need to do, and I agree. But I'll tell you, I'm the first one that'll say that I don't think we need it. If I don't think we need it, then I'll be one of the first people to say I don't think we need it.
We'll probably see it. It'll happen on its own.
It could happen. I can easily see that, you know, one of these days somebody just knocks, and we almost had it happen. It was a very interesting situation. They make, test tube and glass products for, the medical industry.
Just missed it.
Because they were heavy water and electric consumers. But, so anyway, but I think we'd be foolish to just turn a blind eye that that we might need to do something.
So we work with a development company processing so they can have backup. And then they would provide their data services to local businesses. And one of the trends that's happening in that world is businesses are finding out that people who operate data centers are better at protecting their data. They have a stronger firewall, and you don't end up with viruses compromising your intellectual property. And so they are setting up these enterprise data centers in locations close enough to each other so that they can be connected and provide the backup of redundancy that you need in that environment. And when they set up their operations, they do a computer storefront, a smartphone storefront. I mean, that's all in the same storefront. They have their enterprise data center, and they push 5G Wi-Fi into the surrounding area. And I've already had confidential conversation with that developer about Pendleton and your Advanced Manufacturing Technology District, and he is interested and already has a financing entity that is interested in taking a serious look at Pendleton and your Advanced Manufacturing District. So,
But I
and
think
that private money would be.
this is a very intense conversation that needs to happen in the next steps. So we could we could go down a rabbit hole today and we never get out of it in 2 hours. So
Yeah, it's a recommendation, it's not a
Yeah.
decision. I can definitely tell you that.
Okay,
Any other questions for us while we're here?
go. Cheryl, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Any questions or comments from anybody in the audience, please?
We've got some questions for both you guys and our wonderful consultants here. Pleasure to meet you. Good evening. My name's Edward Valenti. From Decker Lawyer Maynard. I represent several landowners in your Northeast Keystone Development District quadrant here in the plan. As has been usual with some of my recent appearances, I have my traditional spiel here that I gave about not complying with the state statute governing plan commissions. And if you adopt this plan tonight or vote to do this, that recommendation could be voided by folks who are not happy with it by not complying with state law. I'd like to start with some questions for our consultants, which is, why was there no outreach to the landowners involved in some of these places? Particularly the largest landowners in their Keystone Development District.
They're aware of this plan moving forward, and we have had public meetings with the town redevelopment commission as we have been carrying this project forward. And when we did our stakeholder engagement, we reached out to those that we were told we should be engaging, and our public hearings were opportunities for anybody in the community to provide input, learn about the project.
Understand that. I'm curious as to why the actual landowners wouldn't be on the list of folks to engage with. Yeah, if you're telling people how to develop their land and when their land is going to be developed, why are you not engaging them directly in conversation? Why are you simply saying, well, you could come to a public meeting? Why has there been no direct engagement?
The town has had conversations with property owners. We are aware of that. And this project, I mean, this plan is a long-range planning document. No private land is gonna be taken unwillingly. There's not gonna be, condemnation or anything like that. If the private property owner owns land and they don't wanna sell, they can stay where they are.
What if,
We're not
under your plan, they want to sell and develop, but you've designated their land as held back? They can't, under your plan, you say you shouldn't develop this land, don't approve it.
Well, that can happen in any situation, Edward.
True, but we're asking here, some of these questions that we have. Just a point of curiosity that I have. Just
May I ask, can you speak in the microphone and towards us so we
Sure, I
can
was
hear?
trying to get them
I
to-
understand that, but I'd appreciate if you asked through us. Some of these questions seem like we could vet through some of these first before you go through our consultant, and then we can
Certainly.
also hear Thank you.
I apologize, my apologies.
I appreciate it.
I do have one question regarding the map. Now, this is a personal point of interest for me since I'm here. The map doesn't show Pine Lake. Pine Lake doesn't seem to be there. Does anybody know what happened to Pine Lake?
Well, there's probably a lot of features on that map that aren't distinguished. I mean, again, from the consultants and our perspective, it's a plan. That whole map is just designated into 4 quadrants now. Basically a retail zone, a manufacturing zone, a medical business zone, and a residential zone, period. It can change, just like we just talked about with the technical institute up there. That may never happen. Someone might come in there and plop something down, we like it, it goes. There's no incubator, no hub or anything. Same with your land. So that's not set in stone, but it's a plan. So we have a plan to develop. When developers do come to town, we can say, we'd like to have you over here, or not over there, instead of having it all scattered around.
The plan does raise another interesting question that I have, and this is directly for the Plan Commission. Looking at your plan, do you mind if I step over here and
Sure.
point out?
That's fine.
Looking for your plan for what would be the Pendleton Development Ground that is currently engaged, you have business outlined at the north end, northeast end here by 38. You have a park in the forest there, words, and you have residential with the remaining amount. But according to this Plan Commission, that you've rejected a plan that provides you exactly that. So how is it that we arrived at this plan while rejecting a plan put before this commission that presented exactly that in accordance with this town's development?
That current plan was rejected because it wasn't up to code and standards at the current time. It was outdated.
I see. Well, that's one question that we have. And finally, what is the plan's town and outreach program for engaging in developers? I have witnessed 2 major housing developers leave this town unhappy, and you're engaged in litigation with a 3rd. So what is the plan for outreaching towards developers and actually encouraging them to come to Pendleton when it seems that you're driving them away?
We're not intending to drive anybody away. When they come to town with a plan, whether they're asking for a rezoning for residential development, they have to meet our standards. The last one come to town didn't meet our standards for the type of home they were going to be built, the way the homes are oriented on the property, and the location. However, they probably will come back and be up to date to our new UDO standards. We'll go from that point. Okay.
I think that's all I have at the moment. Do you have any questions that I've missed?
Not right now.
Okay.
Thank you, Edward.
for your time.
Thank you.
If I might speak?
Sir?
Well, go ahead. Let's do that first.
My name is Jeff Perdue. I'm a local businessman. I'm sure you guys all know who I am. Been here all my life. Your predecessors always had a very big job. I am expecting you guys to have a tremendous job because it is getting busy around here.
Very much so.
These gentlemen here made a comment to quiet, quaint, attractive. Those are things that I would love to see in the future. You hold the reins to that key, to that future. Quiet, quaint, attractive. We all know Fisher's Carmel is not quiet, quaint, and attractive. So I'm begging you to take your job extremely seriously. You gotta hold on to them reins pretty tight, or the horse will get away. Because I have sat on the drainage board in Madison County for 32 years. I've seen these developers come in, 1 or 2 out of 10 really pay attention to the community. The other 8 are in there to rape it and get as much money as they can as fast as they can.
Hence why we just turned the last one down.
Okay. Get your standards extremely high.
They are.
Extremely high. Chase those toy boxes away.
Yeah, we just developed 247 pages of standards.
Another question I have 67th Street, you know where
Yes.
I'm at. I don't know, have you guys, Scott, have you been having meetings with Anderson? Because they have never, ever talked to me.
Yeah, no, they haven't had any meetings since I've.
And of course, you know, the road wants to go right through 400 acres of my road, right through the middle, which is not gonna be real happy. But other routes are possible. I would recommend it. So, but anyhow, my whole thing is, as a 65-year resident of Pendleton, hold on tight, guys. Don't let our community get away from us. I think some of our neighbors have. Okay?
Well, thanks, Jeff. To Scott's point earlier too, that's why it's critical that we protect the downtown and keep the downtown the way it is before we let anything loose out there, because it will pull from downtown. It'll pull it out there. However, again, it's coming up 69 like wildfire. I know every field out at X214, someone's inquired about where's water and where's sewer, and those home builders are just stomping at the ground, and they're cutting astronomical checks per acre out there for ground, and they're getting it. But we'll try our best. Obviously, we don't want to see anything happen here. Even with the traffic that's coming through town, I mean, you can watch it in the mornings. Santa Anita, it's a solid line of traffic coming down 36, coming into town, going through town. It's a solid line coming down 67. They're all going that way. And at 5 o'clock at night, they're all coming back home. It's just, and that, hopefully when this happens, some of those corridor roads and connector roads will take it out around and get it from our quaint town. It's tough to do. It's hard to put up a gate, but we're trying. Thank you very much, Jeff. Greg?
Hi, everybody. Greg Campbell, 239 South Main, and president of the redevelopment commission. I would just ask you folks, piggyback on what Mr. Perdue said, and the RDC, we've been talking about this for years now, how fast Fishers is coming this way, and now Geist is rapidly approaching on this side. So the RDC approved this plan 100%. Everybody voted for it. Everybody wanted it. The work that these folks have done is amazing. I think I've read the entire plan several times. I would encourage you to approve this because we need to have a plan in place when those folks come. As you've all said, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but we really need to have a plan in place when these people get here, because we'll end up, like Scott Fadden has told us, don't do it the way your Fishers did. Plan for it before you have all the growth. So, thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Yeah, and that was one thing was key the last meeting, to get the UDO in place, was to get that in place so builders know what's going on. We got a new rule book and whole new standards. And to Jeff's point, we've got a plan out there now, so they know what's out there. We can control it. Again, we've got the power. If we don't like it, then we'll manage it. Hopefully this board and the town can manage those decisions and get where we need to go. Anybody else, sir?
Sorry, question or something like that. My name's Rick Casson, first time I'm meeting here. And the only thing I was concerned about, as far as we've got a lot of things going on here, and basically, I was just wondering if the town is looking towards like protecting the town, if anything else has like more fire department somewhere else, police, stuff like that, because I know we got the Mitchell station down here, the cop station up the road there, but I was just maybe thinking about if we build that more for or we build it, maybe have something else. Another thing I was wondering, so 67 isn't dragging any business from out of town yet? Cause it seems like more people out, sorry, I probably shot more out there than I do here. So that's all I wanted to know. Is there some sort of plan to hopefully get something like that? Cause that's gonna help anybody other people before we get down to it.
Well, the answer to your fire question is yes. We're currently working on creating a fire territory. And one of the reasons for that is to go paid. The volunteerism in any organization or anything is dwindling rapidly. People are busy in their lives nowadays. They don't have the time, the jobs, are working, et cetera. So, in forming a fire territory, we can go pay to get more staff and help cover that way. There's a magical thing in the fire business called mutual aid. A lot of people don't understand what mutual aid is, but we help our buddies. They have a fire, we go that way. We have a fire, they come this way. Well, we've got the biggest and nicest department, so guess who's getting the burden of all the work? We are, and we're constantly going that way. So the short of it is, yes, we're looking at that. We're trying to form a fire territory to get more money. It's hard to get money out of the state. You can't get any more tax money for the circuit breaker restrictions. However, there is a way to do it. We're working on it. Don't know when, but there'll probably be another station there, out there somewhere, Maple Ridge, between Maple Ridge and 13 somewhere. Probably may not be there. Might be in the country a little bit. A lot of people may not know we have taken over Ingalls Fire Department. Ingalls was in shambles. They didn't have the funding. They didn't care. They'd lost their the men down there lost their willpower because they couldn't get the help or money or the trucks repaired. We were actually going to Ingalls and would get to the fire before Ingalls got to the fire, even if they come. And no fault of theirs, there was nobody there to get on the truck and go. So, but mutual aid again, we were going. So it made sense to take them over to get their tax money to help buy our gas and tools, because that was step one. So that is in high consideration. You'll see that probably in the next year and a half.
Okay.
It takes time.
Now, I guess another question, do you have somebody writing grants for you on getting stuff like that?
Constantly.
Okay, just curious. 'Cause
Yeah.
My son does that. He's
Yeah.
a volunteer fireman for Cali up here. So I just wanted to, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, sir.
Lynn?
My name is Lynn Lawyer, and I'm a Decker Lawyer in Maynard, and I represent 3 property owners that are north in your west quadrant there with over 200 acres. And other than us coming to you and requesting a meeting, we have never been talked to by the consulting firm and would appreciate a little more input there. One question I have for the town council is, in your opinion, what space is currently available downtown Pendleton? Looks like to me downtown Pendleton is nearly full. So are you looking to expand more rapidly because there's no place for people to start a business downtown?
I think the answer to that is we wouldn't want something to be built out there and everybody leave downtown and move out there. Correct, Scott? Yeah.
Okay, so you think that.
So as long as we want to keep the town prosperous, keeping.
So as far as empty space, this whole leg is empty. You've got the lumber company, that's empty.
PNC Bank's empty.
Yeah.
PNC Bank down there?
PNC Bank's empty. Lumber Company's empty.
There's not a whole lot, because Catella's is gonna take that whole section right down there.
Sisters Exchange is closing.
Yeah, but there's other buildings there.
But if you were here 6 months ago, there was none of that.
Correct.
I think there's some change over now.
Yeah, there is some change happening.
So, and another question for the consultants there, when I look at that, and with the property that my people own, that road looks like it's going to cut it approximately in half. And when
Correct.
you say you want technologies on either side, to me, it looks like, I mean, what are you envisioning going in there? But if you're gonna put something in there decently large, there isn't enough on the east side, and with the pond there may not be enough on the west side. So what are you looking to put in there when you're cutting that property in half?
So that is not part of the plan, that's, as you know, through the project that's being, that project's being developed separately. All they did was put in there roughly where the alignment is for the 67.
Okay, well, I've seen several maps and I seem to get answers. that you guys aren't doing it, Anderson says they aren't doing it, everybody is saying, is pointing to someone else. And I have 3 landowners there with about 230 acres saying, you're gonna cut our property in half. And it's farmland now, it is good, well-drained farmland, and that's what it's being used for. But, you know, we wanna plan in long-term set too, and even if we talk to development, we don't know where that's going. And we don't, you know, the question is who to talk to.
Honestly, and Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's any money appropriated for any of that, and I don't think they really know. Is that fair enough, Scott? It was a proposed road, what if? I think they drew it on there. How about this? That's where it's
Well, there were
staying.
four- there were
Anderson doesn't have any money for it at all, and nor do we.
So, are you looking to, I guess,
That doesn't mean a developer can come in and say, we'll build the road.
yeah, that's awfully expensive for most
Sure it is.
developers.
Sure it is.
Like it's expensive for you all, but that's the
Sure it
question
is.
Yeah, but
I'm looking
no,
where,
no.
It depends on what comes.
20 years in civil engineering business, that's usually how it happens.
The developer put the road in if he gets the right tenants.
Road in. And, you know, they buy the ground, then they put the road in. Or at least,
Sometimes.
or at least they purchase the right of way and donate their right of way to the.
If Simon or someone come in there and wanna go in there, they'll put the road in.
well, but I'm also asking the town, you know, is that just on record? Is that just a guess? So if, you know, if we talk to a developer and we wanna put a road along one side, are you open to that?
That would be your decision, but I think generally, speaking from a consultant standpoint, hopefully they agree, put the road in the center and develop both sides. It makes it much more attractive.
Yeah, so the formula is if you have an alignment study, the developers, actually see that ground as more valuable and they'll offer more money for it, because if it's left open to willy-nilly, then that opens their development and their investment up to risk.
Well,
So if you decide to sell that ground, it's because it does have alignment, and you're actually quite lucky because it splits your property. That means you have frontage on both sides of the road, so frontage is the most valuable.
well, frontage is only valuable if there's space enough on each side to do
I
something.
totally agree.
You got frontage on 4 sides, north, south, east, and west.
So, well,
Well, Lynn, you're right. So that developer will probably have to buy more than one piece of ground to make it happen.
right, but that's, I'm looking at because it's no,
So no developer's gonna buy 10 foot of frontage and then not buy the parcel, like you said, behind it. Why would they do that? That's silly. They would have to bring all that together to make it work.
well, what I'm trying to get a feel from here is what, either from the planners or from you all, is what are you truly looking at there? Because from one of the road things that I saw, it's only gonna be small, but I would generally say strip center type things on one side, if you're gonna have any parking there, versus the other side. And now this is the first time I've ever seen a lake in the various drawings that I've seen, you know, been through. So I guess what I'm saying, what does the town see for, you know, right up here? Cause we stretch all the way from 132 to State Road 38.
Well, Ken, why don't you talk
Yeah,
about that?
I can talk to that.
Yeah.
So you're saying you have land from here to here?
Yep, we're all the way down there.
Okay, all right. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, one of the key things we are doing and proposing is what is called regional stormwater management.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, instead of every individual parcel having their own stormwater management, you aggregate that stormwater management. You have a creek over here, so grade is falling in this direction. And so it makes it much easier to do your stormwater management in this location and then having it overflow into the creek. That allows you
You mean
to
in-
not have to dedicate so much of this land to
You mean in the
stormwater.
Foster's branch?
Yes.
Okay. Not
And,
Creek.
and that allows you then to not have to dedicate so much of this land for stormwater management ponds. And,
You don't have individual retention ponds, is what happens.
and you understand how the stormwater regulations work? Because
Yes.
essentially you can't do development and increase flooding downstream.
Yes.
You have to capture stormwater and hold it, and then release it, so that you
In a
don't.
reasonable manner.
So, yes, so that you don't, so,
You
so.
can't release it onto downstream landowners.
Right, at a rate that would cause
Well,
flooding.
Correct.
You release it, yeah.
You do release it. You do release it, you can't hold it all. So that's what's behind this concept. These two sides of, and this roadway is the alignment that was studied by another engineering firm, so we're using that alignment because that study has been done.
Which
From
but
here.
Longest and F?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And so we use that alignment. We've got 360 acres on either side of that for executive homes. That's plenty of land to do residential development. I mean, dividing that in half to have executive homes is very logical. So.
When you say executive zone, what size blocks are was you and you envisioning?
That will be up to the developer and their plan that they bring to the town. Typically, you know, they're half-acre lots.
Well, we're planning commission's about ready to do that with their zoning map. Now that
Yeah.
now that we've completed the
Yeah.
EO, so that's gonna be.
That's gonna be
the
well
next step
defined,
that's
right.
happening. Right.
And then the answer to this development here,
Mm-hmm.
that's, we at this point can't predict what that's gonna be. That could be any number of things. But it likely will be a denser development and not strip centers with parking lots. It's gonna be structured parking in multiple floors and, office space, mixed use, likely. It also could be a destination development type, commercial, property.
Like an example being,
Like an example being, I know that a hockey arena, there's an interest in a hockey arena in the Indianapolis metropolitan area. It would be an arena that people would come from out of state for events.
It could be all sorts of things.
Yeah, I mean, destination
That's
development.
that's sort of.
I mean, water parks have been destination developments, there are a number of entertainment venues, concert venues, things like that. I don't think we're gonna end up.
We're not chasing hockey rinks. What he's saying is that.
I'm just providing examples.
Who knows, it could be from hockey rinks to.
We'll move the Colts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Colts
It's
training
hard to
camp, yeah.
predict.
We had them once.
Yeah, we did that.
okay. And then my in caveat too is everything that we do here, you know, obviously my firm represents another developer across the street, and I'm not sure that you all have the authority under state statute to pass and approve anything.
It's been acknowledged, thank you. Jeff?
There was a miscomment there made, Foster's Branch takes about half of it from Rogers Way to Pryor takes the other half.
Yeah.
There's a portion that goes to these.
Yep. Okay.
So it's going west and east, under the interstate and east.
Is there comments or
You
questions?
guys need to fix that, by the way.
I know,
Glad you brought that up.
Hey, Rich Mort fixed his, and that feels beautiful now.
You know,
At 600, Rich Mort probably gained 10 acres fixing that drain.
Anyway, you know, I see this as just a big picture. There's no specifics. I don't think it's intended to have any specific, in this parcel, we're going to put exactly this. The whole idea is to step back and say, as a community, this gives us something to work with. And as developers come, as people come, we can at least assess whether that seems to fit in with the big picture that we're looking at, and that's all this is. I mean, it's all it is, but that's a lot.
Well, you can manage your ground. You
Yeah.
won't have things scattered all over the place.
It
And
won't
houses
be
here, and a
inconsistent
warehouse,
and
and
not
a factory
cohesive.
over here. You can get it managed, it'll be more attractive. So
Yeah.
they wanna go up here than up here, than down there. It'll be even more attractive to the landowners to get higher prices out of their land. Jeff?
And I think well, I was just gonna say, it's important, I think, that we put in this recommendation to identify a population before we develop that Keystone area. And I'm beginning to think that maybe 12,000 isn't enough. Maybe it is 15.
To put it in context, the town's population will be 40,000 on its current boundaries if we filled out at the density we have now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
to put that in context.
Yeah, so maybe.
Now, I'm sure we're gonna annex something somewhere sometime, so that number will change, but anyway.
I feel like the
40
higher numbers is safer because we can always come down
I
if
would
we
agree.
feel like it's time to do it sooner.
And I think these plans are important to just have an understanding because of utilities. With the changes in laws with utilities, especially the stormwater, getting it done correctly, that's expensive, to go back after the fact. And it gives us an idea of what type of mains we would eventually run, and doing it with projects. And again, it's not gonna be a hodgepodge, and I think those things are important. And from a planning perspective, even water, I mean, we have a newer facility now, but being able to adapt in all those utility areas is very important.
Jeff, you had another comment?
I don't want the board to think that we'll beat you over the head with this road issue, because it is very important to us. But I want you to understand, if they're telling you it's this sort of a concept, I had to farm around all kinds of stakes out in my field, all kinds of crosses for satellite imagery. They've come out and they've done environmental studies and dug hole after hole after hole looking for Indian bones. They have spent a fortune on a maybe. So a maybe is probably not a maybe.
I think if they get the money, it's not a maybe, it's gonna go. They can't figure out how to get the money.
Which is even more reason that we need to
Printing
have a
like
plan.
crazy up in Washington. Some of it may spin right over.
No, I'm sure they're trying to get in line for it.
But, you know, when that day comes and they still want to split my farm right in half, I'm probably not going to be a happy camper. So just, you know, if.
I don't feel like this plan gives them any more permission to do that.
Yeah.
It's just a plan, it's just a
There's other roadways
concept.
that they could use on both sides of the farm. I mean, there's all kinds of different things they could do, and they've never, ever talked to me, ever.
Have you been to any of the Anderson meetings?
Nope, they've not had meetings. I've requested talks with people, they never call me. So, I'm not sure what's going on, but it's not, it doesn't smell real good.
Okay. All right, questions or comments?
We do need to.
We need to,
Amend the
we need to,
plan.
Yeah.
we need to amend the plan for the population. It sounded like 15 was a good number.
Population of 15, not a 15,000 increase. Is that what you're
Yeah, so we
Total.
can change it to like
Total.
development district until town population has grown to this, no.
15?
15.
15? Matt?
I'd probably go 20.
20, I'm okay with 20.
You can always come down. It's like
Yeah,
selling a
yeah.
car. 20's fine. Cheryl? Cheryl's asleep.
She's off.
I think we lost her.
We lost Cheryl.
Oh, there she
There
is.
she
No,
is.
you didn't. I agree with 20.
20 it is. Okay.
So, do I need to make a motion then?
On the 20?
That
Okay.
we will recommend to the, that we'll.
So what you're gonna vote on, so the vote is to amend this document to 20,000, and then,
vote to pass it to the council?
Vote to pass it to the council.
The
with
favorable recommendation.
favorable recommendation.
Correct.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so I
Yep.
will make a motion that we make a favorable recommendation to the town
No,
council.
vote on the 20 first. We gotta amend the 20.
You're gonna amend
Yeah, we do,
the-
we got
Amend,
two
like,
votes.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll amend, well,
Make a motion to amend the population to 20,000.
okay. I'll make a motion that we amend the population to a total of 20,000.
Correct. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor of amending the Keystone Development Ordinance to 20,000 total population, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Now, I'll make the motion to recommend the I-69 interchange master plan be forwarded to the town council with the amendment of 20,000 total population as we discussed tonight. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor of moving the I-69 interchange master plan with a favorable recommendation to the town council with the amendment of 20,000 total population as discussed, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. So moved. All right. Thank you too, everybody, for coming and your comments. Your comments are much appreciated. It's hard to get people in here to learn of this, but we are trying. At least Anderson hasn't given you a map or any meetings, so we are trying. Okay, item B is the street standards, Hannah.
Right, so, this is our new street standards, which will establish, updated minimum construction requirements for street improvements in the town. So the standards are written to be applicable to new or improved streets that are constructed as part of the development within the town and are to be dedicated to the town for public use and maintenance. So this is a very engineer-heavy document. If you have any questions, Deb is on the line, that she can answer. She and GRW have created this document for us. And I believe this is amending, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but is amending our current street standards or ordinance? Replace it, okay.
Any questions for Deborah?
I read through it, thought it looked good.
Questions or comments from the audience? All right. I'll make a motion to approve the street standards as submitted to move to town council with approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kyle. All those in favor recommend the street standards comprehensive plan as presented, move to the town council for approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. All right.
And then our last
Item C.
is going to be just discussing some of the amendments that you would like to make to the UDO. Can we get them iPads so that they can look at the Excel spreadsheet? I'm sorry, I thought they were gonna be up there.
We'll take a recess till we get the iPads up and program if anybody's using the restroom or check their phone.
Perfect.
Good chairman always does.
That's right. Where's the playground?
Well, good.
Not that time. Never kind of race that, right? Daughter gets so excited for reasons.
I didn't hear from him, so I guess.
He's still moving.
In jail or he's across the road.
He's in a bar tonight.
Hey, good. Got my patio in.
Did you? Let's cook out, 'cause I invited the whole
Oh my
neighborhood.
gosh, well, when I can now get my,
It's gonna be muddy. I already
my
invited the whole
yard
neighborhood.
done because that's muddy.
Yeah.
Did you get some free yard from BR Horton?
I wish. No, we put in it's kind of phase 2 of our patio. We ripped out, well, we started ripping out our deck before the encroachment, and then we just stopped, so the backyard was horrible for a couple. And then COVID happened, and all of a sudden, any contractor was booked.
Oh, lumber was like
Well, we did,
ridiculously.
I'm done with lumber, so the first patio we just did plain, and that was last fall. But then we did the step off off of that,
So
where
is
it's
it
like
okay
a
if I get the other
texture,
one? Yeah.
and it's kind
I'll
of
just give you the-
circular for
yeah.
fire pit. But I had the contractors, cause now we have fees and different things in place, so I had them call up here, I didn't know if they need a full permit or not.
That's a
so.
great question.
But boy,
we
they
talked about
tore up
this.
my yard,
Yeah.
but it was raining last week.
Unless they're digging holes and putting something on the foundation.
Yeah, no. I couldn't remember, and I thought, just, you better call up there.
Maybe it was an agricultural patio, then it's exempt.
There we go.
That has to be on the, that has to be on your
So-
property.
So
Where
that's
you-
like,
where you're at.
they did that, the texture.
Like the stamped concrete?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I didn't want it on my main because it can be slick, so, and it will
Now, is
have
that gonna
like,
affect that big drainage pipe they're gonna put in 20 feet from our house?
I already got a drainage pipe and it works, but it, like, you step down and it's like
Oh,
a
cool.
circular area.
Okay, see, that'd be nice. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. I tried to help.
You saw that you already dismissed one. Suits.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna let them be berated.
Yeah.
And I've had enough of our reputation every time. I asked Jeff last meeting and he said he'd take care of it because it really attacks us and our credentials personally.
Yeah.
Not just as a whole. But he's, so.
Oh, sorry.
We were fine.
I did not have time to update the Excel for your.
Oh, it's-
And I couldn't quite find some of them, so. Real quick before I came up, I get ready to go to the meeting.
I put thought to paper there.
Yeah.
Well,
Changed my
and
mind.
I have the UDO printed.
Well, the
just
spreadsheet's
'cause
a good
it's-
idea,
Yeah,
for sure.
got a
so-
spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Well, I
brought my
have
own.
the printed UDO with me I brought, cause I thought, oh, it makes it,
Oh my God.
well, it makes it easier to look at and sometimes it can be slow. I'm gonna have to,
Big document.
I'm gonna have to get up here though, because getting to that, my Google Drive.
had a feeling it was something triggered.
Yeah.
And I think it has something to do when, I accessed like my Microsoft 365 through my personal computer for work, but I'm not in that. I'm logged in under, but I can't, and even like an attachment that's in our town email.
Yeah.
That takes you to, it won't, it says I need permission, so.
So
I need
maybe
IT
you should use
help.
like both of your, if you have two different emails, or,
Well, it won't even accept like if I put in my
Finally
Pendleton.
get over it.
yeah.
So
I can have Scott look into it, and, cause,
And
there
I'm-
might be something where it's.
I'm usually off every other Monday, and I've got a Friday
Are they still cute and fun to watch, or are they
next
grown
week
out?
off, so I
Yeah,
have
they're
some
still
time
pretty
to
cute.
like.
We have
Yeah.
three, of course,
Yeah.
all
We
boys.
can maybe have them
And so
just
we just
give
end
you
up
a call and figure that
keep
out,
them
'cause
all
that's
as
really
pets
new.
now.
I know, like,
And I didn't.
I know, and I'm not
Maybe one
the most tech savvy
Saturday morning at
person.
the,
I know
Farmers
when I
market.
saw.
Yeah, we were there early, but we
outside
kind of
it, I'm
bailed out
And I've been
lately,
like,
but-
my husband, that's what he is, a software engineer, and he does all kinds of stuff with that world.
they just live around, I know.
I even hate asking him to work on my
There's
stuff
big
because
tents in the
he's
yard,
had
you know?
so
Then she
much
told me the whole story
personally,
about
I'm
the
like,
goats.
I'm not even
That was
Can't
just
get
like-
plugging
Yeah.
him, yeah.
Yeah, they're fun.
I'm afraid if I take this off and it goes sick, somebody else smear it because I had some on when I walked in.
We paid for it. We paid for it.
$1.
Cost more than that.
Well, I have a big blank part of the wall I need to fill, so. Alrighty, so do we need to end the recess format?
Yeah, let's wait till Scott gets back in here. Everybody's still on.
Okay.
Here, I'll advertise Pendleton.
Which one of these do we want now? Let's see.
That is a tree.
I had to use a sticker somewhere. I
Modify
guess.
September 1st.
It's covering, It's covering up 811.
What's all of this?
What's that? Oh,
The DIG.
The 811.
Yeah, our office runs the 811.
Oh,
That's
okay.
intended as
Gotcha.
detention along, that's the Fall Creek. So that's the
That's
land
water
between,
retention.
that's the land between,
Fall Creek Drive and the prison.
well, yeah, the Fall Creek
It's
Drive's
not my
developed,
department, but
and then the creek is here,
I,
and then that's.
sometimes I don't even know the guys that
So
work
it's all
that because
wood
they're out
area
in,
along Fall Creek.
in the field.
So
Well,
is that
there's
loading
contractors
or
that
they
do
gonna
that
Well, it's
work,
not.
Make it a.
but
I think they're just
ours
calling
is
it
the
kinda-
roll-up oversight
Yeah, it's
and the
basically
federal,
undevelopable.
the federal arm as well.
Even up through here?
Yep.
Well,
The
that's
gas
where the creek is, like,
pipelines
right up
and
against the, behind those
federal
homes. So I think that may be the FEMA. fund.
regulations or violations.
Just plotted it on there and called it floodplain area.
Some more than others.
Because we do
Yeah.
have a floodplain district.
I don't speak
Like
that
floodplain
language as
park.
well.
There's the floodplain down by the library.
Okay, we'll call the meeting back in order, please.
I mean, it's basically can't be anything else with it.
Hannah?
Okay, so, you all have access to the Excel spreadsheet that has, where you can propose amendments, to the UDO that goes through the same process as the UDO. You propose it, if it's favorable, you vote on it, and then you take it to, town council. So we're not voting on anything tonight, but this is just kind of a way to start this process for whenever you want to propose amendments and discussing it amongst yourselves. And you can ask feedback from me or Kayla or whoever, if you see fit to do that. So, I think probably what we would like to do is just go through each one of these, and if anyone kind of has any problems, almost like an informal vote, but just to make sure no one has any additional comments for each proposed amendment. Does that sound okay, or?
Are you using the master tab? Does that have them all collected?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Or we can just start with yours, but, yeah, the master tab should have it the same way, so, just kind of starting with each of those.
Yeah. Can I say
Hannah,
something?
Sure.
So it's up to the chairman how he wants to go through those.
Okay.
That's fine, we can vote them just like that, it'll probably expedite things. If everybody's fine with that.
Yeah, I just wanted, after the last meeting, I'm kind of of the opinion right now that unless it's something that's clearly a correction of an error that we need to make, I don't feel like I'm gonna be able to support any other changes at this point. We've got a brand new document that our consultants, our planning department have spent hours and hours and hours on. My fear now is if we make a small change in one place without thinking through what other, how that might affect other parts of the, I don't wanna start having an inconsistent, document because we've made one change over here and we didn't think through, but that also maybe affects something somewhere else, and
Yeah.
I'm just kind of to that point now where I think we found a few things that are truly errors or corrections that need to be made.
Yeah.
But as far as making some of these minor adjustments to little details at this point, I'd rather work with the document and find out that it is an issue rather than
Mhm.
to start tweaking it and then
Yeah.
have consequences that were unintended.
And we do
That's-
have set up now, I don't know when you would want to begin it, but the quarterly review. And then I
Yeah.
think once we've had kind of maybe a year.
That was the intent, to do a
Yeah.
quarterly review.
Yeah,
Of
so,
that,
so
we
talking
can-
through this with the
Mhm.
idea that I probably won't be ready to approve any
Mhm.
of them even for next month's meeting either.
Yeah. Now, there are a few things, like you said, really small, like very small text changes
Mhm.
that probably need to be changed and
Yeah.
identified. So I know that a few of those are on there, so if there's maybe just a few little things like that, if you wanted to go through and say, these are fine, we can vote on these on the next meeting,
Mhm.
formally, that's completely up to you, or we can put all of this on the quarterly review, that is also up to you.
Comments?
What, the quarterly review is supposed to be in October, I think is what you said. So that'd be the next meeting.
Yeah. Or we can start that whenever.
So if we just
you
go
see
down
fit.
through these quickly and say yay or nay, if we're gonna talk about it next time,
Yeah.
Let's at least knock down
And
the
that's
text
kind of,
changes.
that was kind of the intent, is just like an
Yeah.
informal, like, yeah, that's good, we can do that, just
Okay.
very quickly.
Cause
kind
this
of.
isn't a public meeting, a public hearing that has to happen for those to be.
Right, right, so that would be in our next meeting. So this is just kind of the, I guess, the dry run.
The primer. Okay.
Yeah, to see how we would do this in future meetings or
Okay.
things like that,
Gotcha.
so.
Okay.
I don't know how you wanna start, Tim, do you wanna just run down the list and, or if there's anything that sticks out to you, I can assume everything is yes, or everything is no?
I was just gonna say, let's just
Let's
give
move
everybody
on.
time to review, and
Right.
if there's something that really is in your crawl, no, if not, we'll,
And, you also have a tab on there that has staff, proposed amendments. We obviously can't propose anything, but if you feel that that's something that you would like to see proposed, you can move that forward in the next formal meeting. They're very small things, a few are just text changes and typos. I know the other big one is a rooster prohibition, because nobody wants to be woken up at 5 in the morning, probably in a suburb with a rooster, so, things like that, just little things.
We have other issues besides just roosters that are disturbing the peace and solitude of this quaint community.
I've never been awoken by a rooster, but I heard it's unpleasant, so.
they don't stop.
I sleep right through it.
Do you really?
Yeah.
And I know, Kyle, your, 2 comments about landscape buffers and animal hobby farms there was kind of a lot to put in a
Yeah.
Excel cell. So
Yeah, we
there
can
is a
talk about
master list of feedback that has more of, what those tables would be changed to. It was just too much to put in Excel,
Sure.
so.
So I'm unclear on what we're doing here.
I think we're just reviewing, and if there's any that you do not agree with, then we can talk about it.
Or if you
Was
think
that-
it's a technical.
Well, I'm looking at the master list then, which is the last tab on the, that's everything.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the first 2 are just corrections that need to be made.
Yeah, I still think we have to go through that formal
Yes.
process, so we'll
Yeah,
have to
but,
vote
so
on
I'm
it.
saying,
Yeah.
yes to the
Okay.
first 2.
The third one's kind of a, not a correction, but I didn't see in there where we required centerline monumentation for subdivision.
So again, that's.
It's pretty standard, but I
Yeah.
think it'd be nice to have it required, so.
Yeah, so things like that, yeah.
Okay.
We don't have any, concerns or suggestions with that proposed amendment.
So to me, the revised major subdivision open space requirements is one that I think we need to wait to
Okay.
address, I think.
I would agree, and the next one underneath
And the
that, the
next one,
maximum
yes.
gross density,
So
just
hold on,
be.
slow down,
So
slow
my
down.
my concern with the maximum gross density, all that was done was like if the minimum lot size was 10 acres, then the maximum gross density was 1/10 acres. Or it was just the inverse. So that doesn't account for roads, common area, detention, buffer, any of that. It was just the inverse of the minimum lot size, so it doesn't even really make sense. But then there's also a provision in the conservation subdivision that lets you establish your maximum lot count based on those numbers.
Is, because this is 250 pages, were those the only 2 areas affected? Just, I'm thinking what Carol mentioned as far as,
Of the web of connections.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, let me see.
because I understand what you're proposing, but then if we approve of it tonight, then we forget to look at that web that it
Sure.
creates.
And I don't know, is that something that the planning department looks at to see what our other consequences are of making some of these changes?
Yeah.
Because
There's been, between the consultant and
Yeah.
Hannah and Kayla, they looked at
Yeah.
this stuff.
And that, particular one, we did have some concerns and suggestions about changing.
So you're saying that you don't want to change it, or you do? Or,
I mean,
But this is what I'm telling the staff, just so you guys know. So, so you're the body, right? So only you can make amendments, all right? So when you have an amendment out there, if we have something that we think needs to be brought forward, we'll give it to the chairman, and then he can make it his amendment if he deems necessary, one of you could. But one of the things we wanna get away from, cause we've had some misimpressions in the past, where we have veto authority, or we're the gatekeepers, or we're not. So, what I'm trying to get us staff into the habit of is we only give our comments or concerns or suggestions if you ask for them. We'll do a lot of stuff up front, but once you guys convene, we step into the background unless you ask us to come up and make suggestions, or if we have concerns, if you ask our concerns,
Yeah.
then we'll give it to you. Because we don't want to give the impression to the public or even to you that we're part of this body. We staff the body.
well, but we do rely on your expertise.
Sure.
And the consultant's expertise in some of these issues.
Right.
Because we don't work with this
Yeah.
stuff day in and day out, so I guess I am asking for.
When you ask for it, then we'll give you.
Yeah, so on both of those that are on table 5.3, I would like to hear what they're.
Well, I mean, so for instance, SF4 is 6 units per acre for single family. Because that was the minimum lot size was 1/6 of an acre. So they just calculated if every square foot of the property was lots, then you could have 6 units per acre. That seems pretty dense for single family.
It's extremely dense.
I mean, Carrot Glen's not even 3, so.
Yeah, that,
So my
I hear
concern
you.
was those numbers really don't benefit anybody because they're not realistic. So whether or not they change to what is proposed or something else, I think they need to be something realistic. And it doesn't have to, I mean, maybe we just talk about it in our quarterly review or something. but
Well,
I just think the way you could tell how they were developed, and they just don't make any sense, so.
Well, and my only concern is with things like the density issues, those are now out there and approved. So if someone were to come in as they're currently defined, they could be in full compliance with the UDO with 6 units per acre.
As long
from
as
a
they meet
density.
minimum lot sizes, yeah.
Yeah.
And-
So I think getting some of these resolved sooner rather than later will help to protect the community from some of the overgrowth and overdevelopment.
Can you guys hear me? This is Deborah.
yeah.
Yes.
One of the things to make note of right now is that on your zoning map, these residential districts don't exist yet. So in order for somebody to develop at these proposed densities, they would have to go through a rezoning process before they even get to use what's in the new UDO. So at that point, you could implement conditions, maybe a different density if it's in a certain area, permitted uses, things like that, as a condition to a rezoning before they even get to the UDO and start utilizing some of these.
So do we feel like that would buy us adequate time until we could nail down some
Make sure.
language here?
I don't think we're gonna fix all these tonight.
No.
We'll be here till
But as far
4
as,
o'clock in the morning.
as far as these two that specifically that we were talking about.
When is the quarterly review? Is that the actual October meeting, or is it a special meeting?
That's whenever you want it to be, it would.
You could do either, or you could recess and do the hearing and then. during the
Have them
regular
both the
meeting,
same
or have
night?
a separate special
We just have
meeting.
to
Right,
publicize,
publicize,
yep.
publicize.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nothing that has to happen tonight, but it needs to be on the radar before.
And so-
If they need to be changed, it needs to happen sooner than later.
I agree. I don't think we have that answer tonight.
No.
But I do have comfort in knowing that we don't have a zone, or we don't have any districts that are zoned that way,
I don't think we're gonna be caught off guard.
so we're not gonna, yeah.
And you're not locked into the requirements until primary plat.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Then
we-
you're held to the.
So we have
that.
time to make sure that whatever changes we make are the right ones and that they're consistent with the rest of our document.
Let's go through and try to approve the ones that's just text or grammar or et
Yeah,
cetera.
yeah.
Where there's no concerns or suggestions. And if we all agree on those as a whole, can we just approve all those at once?
Jeff, is that, do they need to have a hearing to do that?
Unless it's a Scrivener's error with an obvious error that is, you know, a transposed number or something like that, there would have to be a notice public hearing to make that change. And I would say that the
And
If you-
actually,
the map addition gives us a nice buffer on the concerns that have been brought up, because without that, as she mentioned, you have a lot of hurdles the developer would have to go through. You don't need to worry about somebody camping out overnight on October 7th and running in to file something, because like she said, it's there's no zoning map yet. That gives us time to get our bearings and you know, it'll be done this year, but in the October-November time period to make the changes and get it exactly how the plan commission and council likes.
So I guess tonight we could look at the ones that are, obviously those are okay. We put a check mark next to those 4 next time.
Yes.
Correct.
Here's the ones that are yes or no, or need some further
Yeah.
thought and discussion.
Need some homework.
And those would be kind of what you discuss more in depth at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because now
When
you have
you
an
have
idea.
between now and then to think about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with the first one with text change. We all agree with that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that could be technically a typo. Yeah,
If you think it's a technical error, then.
It's a technical
It's
error,
the
so
abbreviation range, yes.
we're all okay.
Okay.
Item 2 is the same thing, text change.
Yes.
Cheryl, speak up if you have a no or a question or something, okay? Or
I
otherwise,
will. I absolutely will.
Thank you, dear. Let's say so. Item 3, add text.
I wouldn't call that a technical. That's,
No, it's
An
that's
addition.
That's an amendment.
Okay, I'm just asking which goes, so we all have input. Center line markers.
That's an text addition,
Yep.
technical in nature.
Revised major subdivision open space requirements, definitely. Okay. Maximum gross density calculations.
That's a discussion.
Questions? Accessory heights, questions?
Yes, I do have questions.
Incoming use of square footage front yard planting.
That's a question.
I have a question on that. I don't-
Currently requires no front yard planting, buffering yards should consider at least type 1 buffer yard because we are a tree city.
See what I was thinking.
Hannah, could you give us some input on that at the next meeting that says normally it's 10 foot or 20 foot or?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Double front lots. Is also to include major subdivision perimeters.
Well, I think that, so those are 2 separate things.
They are.
So I think we can just eliminate that double front lot.
You want to take that out completely?
Yeah, because there's
Okay.
another comment about the buffer yard.
Okay.
Buffers transitional landscapes. There's no concerns from staff. Add ag use to table 3.13. Also, all incoming uses should provide at least type 1 buffer to ag use to provide transition from less intense to more intense use.
I'd like your input on that, Hannah.
All right.
Just-
We okay with that one?
I'd like to get her input.
Okay. Required traffic improvements. Same concerns, needs consultant suggestions.
Yeah, I think the way, we can probably strike that one. I mean, I think it's in there that, what's the threshold for a traffic study?
That
Is
is
there a
very-
threshold for a traffic study?
I don't know.
Or is it just staff?
I didn't see it.
Maybe it says, as long as there's something in there where the town can require a traffic study, so that we know if,
seeing that in there.
instead of just
So
requiring.
50 might not be the right
Online.
number.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
or maybe,
So
Deb,
that-
can you
that-
answer that?
Where do you have those?
Hey Deb, are you
mine doesn't
online?
have all those comments in
Yeah,
it.
you've got the special.
Okay, we'll get back with you on that, Kyle. Cause we've lost.
Yes, I am.
We can require a traffic.
There she is.
Hang on, Debbie, comment.
Deb, do we have a threshold that requires a traffic study for, all major subdivisions with more than 50 lots?
Not a threshold like that, but at the concept plan review, there is the opportunity to require a traffic study if needed.
Like that one out.
So we're okay there.
Yeah, there's no reason to set it at a hard deadline if a traffic study tells you one way or the other.
All right.
Okay.
Access roads, there's no concerns or suggestions. Require buffer strip to be in common area, otherwise lots will be smaller than intent of the zoning minimum.
Cause you can double dip your lot and your landscaping instead of requiring it to be separate, and also that gives control to a HOA type entity for maintenance.
Can we make sure that's not inconsistent with anything else that we're saying as far as,
It's not.
you're okay with that? Or you looked
We
at-
have no concerns or suggestions for that.
We okay with that one, Brad?
Okay.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Brad?
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay, that was good. Required open space content. Same concerns, suggestions as consultant. There's questions.
Yeah,
I think
questions.
so they were saying that it could count to a certain amount, what did it
Approval
say?
of what didn't-
20% of the required open space. So,
So the one that has the comments from, I must be looking at.
I don't have any.
He's got them, but.
Yeah.
I think on a computer they show up, but on the iPad,
On the
for
iPad.
some reason, the comments aren't showing up, or there's columns that are hidden.
We have two different documents.
Oh.
So, we have it here in case you ask.
So this will be for discussion.
Right.
So you'll look
So
smart.
basically, if the property has a lot of unusable
I'm trying to
area.
establish that. I'm trying to distinguish between staff and.
Okay, okay.
Gotcha.
Is it-
Yeah, that,
Right.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, page 3, perimeter landscape buffer as common spaces. There's no concerns or suggestions. Ensure the required subdivision buffers are maintained by an entity, which we normally do, it's HOA. Or
Yeah, I'm.
Problems or questions
I'm
there?
okay with that. I'm good with that.
Brad,
I don't think so.
you don't think you're good with it, or?
So are we saying that the HOA will have maintenance responsibilities on those areas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I'm okay with it then.
Versus an individual lot owner.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that you get totally inconsistent
Yeah.
maintenance on.
Animal limits on hobby farms.
There's a whole nother page that addresses some of those items.
Yeah, that's in the master list of feedback. Those were the two items where there was just too
See
many
proposed
tables.
change in the table master list on feedback, okay.
Yeah.
Minimum setbacks and lot sizes for SF3 and SF4. Concerns and suggestions, that's definitely questions.
Yeah.
Secondary plat back to PC for approval. We got a whole list of work there. Definition of administrator, parentheses, staff. Planning director, a person designated by the planning director.
So there's a staff tab in the G drive that you can go to see that.
Okay, I thought the master list was everything.
No, our staff
Okay.
ones are separate.
You're special, okay.
We're special.
I gotcha.
That just lets you designate somebody as the
Right.
administrator.
That's just a text change.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're good there. Rooster prohibitants. Prohibits roosters in all SF, TF, and MF districts. I agree.
Me too.
Oh, roosters. We okay there?
That's okay.
All right. Mini warehouse mix-up. Many warehouses and conditional on 246 and bulk matrix is listed as permitted. Change in bulk matrix to CU and HB, no concerns or suggestions.
Is that just a correction then?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
typo.
All right.
And last but not least, 60% on windows is high. Remove R required to GB and HP on 60% section. It's another typo. Okay. So,
Was that typo?
It was just a suggestion Kayla had. She said that 60%,
Yeah, so I don't think that's technical. I mean, yeah,
It's
It's
technical,
technical.
not.
it needs an amendment,
Yeah, it needs a
yeah,
we'll put a question there.
but,
All right, so the ones that we corrected were text and grammar errors. The other ones we'll address at the October meeting or the future quarterly meeting. Okay.
yeah.
And so there's, in the meantime, to review, there's this spreadsheet, there's a PDF on Drive called Master List of Feedback, and then there's this, I don't know if this is on Drive,
I can put it on there if it's not,
just things to think about,
yeah.
so we can.
Are
have-
these,
and-
are
and
these your comments, Kyle? Okay.
Just to have informed
Have it.
discussion.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I can put them on there.
Okay. Okay, so these will all be taken to the October meeting and hopefully voted on then, correct?
So Jeff will notice the paper, and so we're all.
Yeah, did you hear that, Jeff?
Yeah, we'll put together a notice of Scrivener's errors to attach to the document that's already been provided.
Well, the question was, or.
Public notice.
Public notice.
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. We will get a notice for your next meeting.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
Questions or comments? Anybody?
Good.
That's
Right.
good.
So in the next meeting, any of these that are technical in nature, we will have a discussion and then individually vote upon changing each of those.
Correct.
If an amendment moves forward.
Correct.
And that goes to the town council for them to adopt.
Yeah.
Correct.
If you make if you make a
Change.
Motion
amendment to the content.
It will go to the town council in any case. It just may go with an unfavorable recommendation.
Could
We can always say no.
Could I ask of the staff on some of these that if they do connect with other areas within the plan, that you kind of guide us through that? Because I don't want to, again, make a favorable recommendation on a change without, again, fully thinking through 250 pages.
Right. Yeah, I can. And I'll also update that Excel sheet to just show the ones that we went through and kind of, yes, these are simple, we'll change them. Then the ones that are like kind of the main docket discussion items. So that way at your next meeting, you can just approve the ones that are really, really simple and then have most of the time to discuss your big amendments.
Yeah.
All right. Cheryl, any questions or comments?
No, I do not have anything tonight.
We appreciate you hanging in there for so long. Scott,
I'm sorry.
you have anything else?
There is one, Jeff,
Yes, sir.
so does the chairman need to sign a resolution document saying they accept the street standards to forward to the town council?
Yeah, I'll get a couple of those forms together and I'll get them to Tim for
And
his
also
review and signature.
I-69.
In the I-69 master plan too?
Both of them. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hannah, if you'll just call me, I'll come in.
Okay,
Okay, we'll do.
Okay.
thank you.
Anything else, folks? Brad? Anybody?
No, I think one of the things that we do probably need to check and make sure that we're comfortable with are the commercial solar farms and the
Yeah.
commercial wind.
We asked that last time.
Yeah.
I think we need to button that one down, in particular, since we actively engaged, went forward with the town council with regards to the NUCO project and protecting our ability to develop and protect property values.
Yeah.
So it's both property values and public health. And I don't think that they are prohibited as currently stated. And I know that there's some public interest in ensuring that that does not happen. So those would be two areas that I think that we do need to make sure that the appropriate controls are in there. Because I did go back and go through the NUCO material, and in looking at a number of publications and studies where different types of development impact residential home values, 15 to 17% is a very common reduction in home values with co-location near both solar and commercial wind.
And I think that you brought up health, value, and welfare, which again is what we are up here to ultimately be concerned
Correct.
with. So I would agree with you on that.
And the other thing is, there are a number of studies that show decreases in school enrollments with the implementation of the commercial wind farms. And those studies are Indiana-based, where people actually move away from them and reduce the overall student density. So I think that's just one of the areas we need to make sure that we're tight on. We only have 5,000 acres to potentially develop. I believe that was the number that staff calculated. So we are not a huge community with lots of vacant property that can build these things without impacting our overall master plan and zoning strategies.
So can we have that on our agenda
Yeah.
then next time?
I had planned to put that on the quarterly, whenever that happened to be,
Okay.
would be solar and wind concerns. If you have any information you wanna send to me, and I'll put it on the G Drive, that would kind of maybe point you in the direction of what Brad is talking about, or if you have proposed amendments you wanna put in your tab on the G Drive, that's also something that you can do to discuss it or propose something that would change what we currently have for solar and wind.
I've thought
I
a
don't
lot
think
about
we'll-
it since the last meeting as well, and I was glad that we had representation speaking. I was it was just a lot of information and a lot
Well-
to digest, but I do
There's-
agree sooner than later.
Yeah, we've got, I'm sorry. There's a lot here just with getting the UDO fixed for the girls and the staff on, but we need to keep the conversation
Keep it.
going on the solar and wind. So we won't fix it next month or the month after, but we need to keep the discussion going, our homework going to get there.
Is that-
It's gonna sneak up on us.
Mr. Chairman, is that
Yes.
a chapter that we want to use professional consultant to develop?
I would probably recommend we hire some consultants in on that, because you drive through Anderson anywhere, those solar farms are popping up just,
bam.
Will tell you
they're
that,
huge.
Brett Mabry Inspections, I did fill a call this week from a company in town here, west of town, that's doing a feasibility study on a solar. And wanting to say, I got it written down, I think in that, wanting to say it was a $40 million project. They're looking at, want to know what the building permit cost would be in the process for getting permits and stuff, so.
80 million.
It's exactly what.
Is that a good answer?
But I do think
Yes.
the conversation, like Mr. Valentine said, needs to continue because it's maybe closer and right around the corner than what we think.
I
Well,
totally
these-
agree.
The library is a good example.
But
I think-
individual entities can build a small array on their property, that's
Sure
not
they
a
can.
commercial solar.
Jeff, we had a discussion last meeting that, about the, I don't know, the perimeter boundary zoning, we can,
Extraterritorial.
extraterritorial, are we investigating that?
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
President Babb brought that to my attention again today. That's something that will involve the county, and they were at least receptive to it, but that fire is going to get turned back on.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Anything else? All right, meeting adjourned, thank you all.